one short item this morning I'd like to share with you, and that is it relates to the correspondent banking problem, the so-called de-risking issues. I was in Washington last week together with the Minister of Finance of Curacao, and we met with the ambassador of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, in which he reported that the United States is prepared to work with the islands, the Dutch Kingdom Islands, in finding a solution for this de-risking problem, which is great news. The de-risking problem, as you know, is one where correspondent banks have been terminating their relationship with local banks, making it impossible for some countries to be able to pay or make cross-border payments. And in connection with that, we had a previous meeting with the Department of Justice of the United States, the White House, the IMF, and 2 or 3 other departments in the United States. And the result of those meetings is the meeting that we held last week. And it appears that things are heading in the right direction. And I think that before the end of the year, we will have something in writing with the United States as to how we're going to deal with this problem going forwards, so that we don't have the same problem that, for instance, Belize is experiencing.
First subject that I'd like to talk about is about an update on Zika and the war against mosquitoes. As of September 9th, we have 54 confirmed cases in St. Martin on the Dutch side. And I have some photos that should be online now. The first photo, so for the public to understand that the war against mosquitoes is multifaceted. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with proper communications. And one of the things that we've been doing as a ministry is we've been charting the information. So the ministry actually has been creating a map that shows incidents of where Zika is being discovered, and as well as trying to track mosquito populations to get a better idea of where resources need to be allocated. And so the ministry, the CPS, has been going out together with volunteers and walking through the different neighborhoods. So some of the photos that you're going to see now are a reflection of our trips out, which I'm always very fond of. As I mentioned, I always like field trips. But it's disturbing in a sense that we keep on finding many of the same problems. The first photo, for example, is a cistern overflow. So in other words, many houses have cisterns, and then they have an overflow pipe so that if the rainwater collects too much water for the cistern's capacity, the water can overflow. And this is normally a 3-inch or a 4-inch pipe. And what we find way too often is that these pipes are not being screened with a mosquito net. So actually it becomes a perfect mosquito breeding ground. The next photo you'll see is water collection spots. This is where ministries need to coordinate together, as the Ministry of Romi has its district cleanup. Cleaning on the side of the road, besides having a aesthetic purpose, has a very clear hygienic purpose, because in one small bottle cap from a bottle of water that collects water, you can have mosquitoes breeding. So collecting garbage is an important point, but for example, in the photo you'll see some of the people collect water from their air conditioners, for example. The runoff from the air conditioners, they use the water to water their plants. But sometimes people forget about it and they leave them, and again, these become perfect breeding grounds. Next photo you'll see is where we received a complaint from a citizen about a garage that had many tires in their yard. You can see in the photo that these are, again, perfect breeding ground sites for mosquitoes. And so the citizens becoming active in reporting what they believe to be active breeding sites is an important part of our war against mosquitoes. As a matter of fact, when we were going through our neighborhood visits, we found a couple of garages and, let's say, workshops where they have tools and debris left in their yard, and really it becomes just a mosquito Disney World. If you ask me, there's just so many mosquito breeding grounds in those spots. And so based on that information, when the ministry receives that information, that's when we go into targeted fogging. So the next photo you'll see is that based on the complaint we received about the garbage, the ministry went out and did targeted fogging. And I think it's important to explain to the public that just blanket fogging of the island is not the ideal situation. It does a couple of things. It kills mosquitoes, but it also kills all other kinds of insects as well. And the other thing it does is potentially generates mosquitoes that build up a tolerance to the insecticides so that future control efforts become less effective. And that's why the ministry has opted for targeted fogging rather than just blanket fogging. But because, again, even the targeted fogging only kills the adult mosquitoes, and so it doesn't deal with the larvae, and if you don't deal with the breeding sites, while it may bring down the population on a temporary basis, it will end up coming right back as soon as the larvae hatch. Next topic I'd like to speak about are, so the next three projects are actually works in progress, but I think it's important for the public to understand some of the projects that the ministry has been working on. And these are what I would call compliance guides. So there's an employer's version, there's an employee's version, and the idea is this is actually a cross-ministerial cooperation. It's been spearheaded by the Ministry of VSA. But the idea is it's a quick reference guide, and that includes labor regulations, tax regulations, and we've put it into a quick reference guide so that when we go out into the community, we can hand these out to employers and to employees. Because as the government works on improving compliance, improving our tax revenues, what we find is that very often people complain that they don't really know what all of the rules are, and that to find the rules and regulations is sometimes complicated. And I think that if you want compliance, the first step is to make sure that people understand the rules to which we're expecting them to be compliant. So we're giving the information to the employees so that they understand what their rights are, and we're giving the information to the employers so that they understand as well what their rights and obligations are. The next project that I'd like to speak briefly about is the Ministry of VSA.sx. So this is a website that the ministry's been working on, and it's ministryvsa.sx. You can go online. It is still in its development stage, but with the clock ticking, with elections coming, I don't know if we're going to be able to finish all of it, and so I think it's moved along quite well. And this is done together with DCOM. Government does have its own website, and so all of the information is duplicated information, but we're trying to put it into a format that makes it easier to access, and also, let's say, from a search engine perspective, better optimized to find the information. But on the website, you'll find that there's many forms. Again, all of these are on the government website as well, but I think this is in a friendlier format. So a lot of the forms that people need, for example, for social services, for public health, for labor registration, are on site that can be downloaded. We are working on putting in a complaint and recommendation section so that, for example, if you have different issues, that you can enter it into the website and we will be able to give it a ticket number and track it going forward. But I encourage you to take a look at the website. We welcome suggestions. We welcome any recommendations on what we can do to improve it. And the last I'd like to speak about is another website that we are in development, and that is opportunity.sx. This is something that we're working together with the Education Department, but again, it's a project that's in development and still needs time to finalize, and so we've put the framework into place, but there's still quite a bit of work that needs to go into this. And the idea is this. We all speak about how it would be good to bring students from abroad back home. But in reality, it's hard for people that are abroad to get access to information. So for example, while the newspapers have their online versions, if people don't pay for the full version, they don't necessarily see all the advertisements on the website. So many of the companies that when they're publishing their vacancies in the newspaper, for people that are abroad, it's difficult for them to access that information. So what we've created is a portal for employers and for employees, basically it's formatted after like a monster.com. So the idea is that employers will be able to post their vacancies online, and these would be accessible for people globally, again, but with the focus of bringing our students in particular back home. Also has the possibility for employees to load their resumes on so that employers could also search a database of potential employees as well. So all of this, I believe, is to facilitate connecting opportunities with people that are seeking employment. Thank you very much.
It is quite unfortunate that during this time, we know it's election fervor, the fever hits, and many times people use opportunities to throw stones. However, last week, during the memorial ride for the fallen teacher who was killed in what some say is an accident, others call malicious, that is for the courts to decide. However, there was a wonderful tribute organized for this young man who had lost his life on our roads. And I was there as I'd been invited by a rider from the French side, no less, knowing that I have also been a road user prior to my accident with my knee and riding around our salt pond. And so I was there in support of St. Martiners, riders, and road users to also continue to promote the positivity of using the road with respect for all. I was not there in my capacity as minister to make any statement on behalf of government, nor had I been invited to do so. So it was quite upsetting for me to read that, and I thought I'd make that statement here this morning as it was part of the report that was in one of the newspapers. I must say, though, that I did receive a call and an apology, and hopefully a retraction or a clarification will be printed as soon as possible as well. So with that being said, I once again extend my condolences to the family, to the schools, to all the students in St. Eustatius and St. Martin who have lost a great teacher, and to all of the riders who are out there and other road users who have lost a fellow rider. And I would like to encourage the population of St. Martin, as Minister of Education, Culture, and Sport, as a road user myself, as a person that hopes to be able to get back on a bike one day and ride safely, that we take caution, we have respect for all road users, that we adhere to the rules of the road and just use common sense. Getting there earlier is not worth the life of someone else. And next time it might actually be your own life. So think about these things. We do it unconsciously, I must admit, I myself. So it is a wake-up call for us all, and I'm hoping that this tragic accident will be a learning lesson. We've had several in the past, but I believe now more attention will be given. Of course, we as government have what to do as well in posting signs. It was pointed out to me that morning, and I saw for myself that there are hardly any road signs along that road. So there are things we can do in the short term, and we have been having discussions with Minister Vromi. I brought those concerns to him, and he also mentioned some of his concerns and challenges in that respect. But as a government, I don't think anybody would want to say that we do not want to work at improving this situation with our infrastructure in many areas, not just the Simpson Bay area. On a next note, back to the political bashing, parties find it opportune to mention at this point again, what the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports and this minister is or isn't doing to improve the lot of teachers in public education, as well as to throw shade as well about the whole school busing situation once again, even though I have reported here that we are in the process, we are in the discussions to resolve these issues. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports has undertaken a number of initiatives and made changes through 2015 as well as in 2016, which are detailed in 9-year reports, as well as the quarterly reports which have been coming in for 2016. The ministry, the department heads are well aware of the priorities, and as was highlighted by some of the concerns brought forward by teachers as well as my person, significant efforts have been made in improving our educational system processes and performance, in highlighting tangible and intangible cultural heritage, in promoting sports and youth in partnership with a common focus on maximizing results with our available resources. Some updates I can give are that 2 schools were repainted before the school year started, and several repairs were carried out. These were some of the complaints made. There were also complaints made during those meetings with teachers about the gravel posing a danger to the students at the M. Genevieve de Weaver School. These were subsequently removed, and it was paved, and a new basketball court was placed there, which is also for the record. The reconstruction of Prince William Alexander has been approved, the groundbreaking has taken place, and we are awaiting the removal of the hazardous material to be able to fully get that underway. The Education Care Center at Charles Leopold Bell, while we still have not been able to secure for 2016 the funding to start that program, the building itself has been finalized in terms of the process to get the building renovated so that we can be able to house the students there. For those that are unaware of what the Educational Care Center has been established for, it was something that's long in the planning, and it's also to address some of the issues that teachers have brought up, which is a high number of students with serious behavioral problems within the schools, which makes teaching difficult. So this program is geared towards them and towards giving, pulling them out of the school situation, rehabilitating them in terms of behavior modification, training, working with parents, and utilizing sports and the arts mainly as the venues through which to refocus and put their energies in the right place in order for them to be productive learners in the classrooms when they return, and also for them as students to see their part in the bigger picture of building St. Martin. So that's still the plan of this ministry. We are still in the phase of reconstruction and renovating the Charles Leopold Bell School to be able to house them, and we hope that we are able to realize the funds to be able to carry out this program. Also, transitional classes have been discussed within the Department of Education. We have actually set aside also within our budget for 2017. This was another, how I could say, complaint of school teachers during the last meetings, as well as meetings held back in 2012 with them, that there are many students coming in who are not able to fit into the regular classrooms. So we saw the need back in, I don't even remember the year, but still when I was still teaching, we did have a transitional school, which was housed at the old Martin Luther King building, which now is under Justice on the top of Mount William Hill. And since then, it had been dispersed to different schools, different classes, and when the need was no longer felt necessary, they were dispersed. However, based on the needs that are now being shown, we are looking at being able to do that for 2017 as well. Technology in the classroom, the funding is there, the program is being worked out, as I said before, to be done in phases. And also, we had highlighted that the Prince William Alexander School, which had been left behind and is now operating out of the Alma Fleming Educational Center at Belvedere, is in a new facility which has everything ready that the technology can be implemented there quickly, and seeing that they are servicing our special needs students and a smaller schools population, we will do our best to implement it there fully. So the other schools will be getting it in phases, while we hope to be able to do it at the Prince William Alexander School in its entirety, which is now housed at Belvedere. And then once they move to their new facility, that will also be a new facility, so the transition should be quite easy. But it is basically that it is our goal to have more technology in the classroom. The technology in the classroom is just not software and hardware, but also training for the teachers and awareness for the parents. So all of that is part of the project that is ready to go as well. Division Public Education teachers and managers also were part of a group in the meetings that we held, and they had expressed that it was quite a shame that they had not been sworn in. So in that report from the political party that saw fit to throw shade on the swearing-ins that have started this week and will continue through the rest of this week, the teachers, managers, and all employees within public education are in government employ. And as such, they deserve and have the right to be sworn in as well. And it was quite an honor for me to start to do so on Monday. We continue today and the rest of the week to be able to give them the opportunity to pledge allegiance to the persons, the students who they are charged with teaching and managing and also assisting, because all of the staff are sworn in. And they are also very happy to be able to finally be considered as civil servants. So we're very happy as a ministry to be able to do that. Also, not having been publicized, because we prefer internal measures that are being taken to improve, that we work those out properly before publicizing it. Yes, people in the media and people in the public would like to know, and transparency is needed. But while things are being worked out, especially if they have a sensitive nature and they involve persons who are civil servants, it is not necessary to divulge all of the information. But what I can say in dealing with some of the complaints that have been brought forward is that the ministry has been, even before I got here, working on an advisory committee or a management committee. I'm using the wrong word, but basically it's boiling down to an advisory committee right now, which will be charged to give the minister, myself in this case, or whomever it will be, advice on the best way forward in dealing with the improvements needed in the structure of public education. You cannot just jump up and take unilateral decisions, as they have to do with the complete functioning of the division public education. There are ways to do things. Everyone wants to see a positive change, but to do it in a negative way, to break down, is very discouraging for the actual civil servants that are carrying out the work each day. So I would like by this means to encourage all those working in public education to remain steadfast, focused, and not to be deterred by the actions of others who may seem to derail the work that we are all doing together to improve the service we give to the students in our public education system, and to you, the teachers and staff, management, as well as the parents as well. Also related to this case is the special education testing that is done at the Student Support Services, SSSD, another division within public education. The testing was done for this year, completed, and reports were discussed and submitted to the schools and parents. Student Support Services Division staffers also attended placement meetings at Prince William Alexander during the month of May. I'm also pleased to say that just recently more teachers have been hired at the Prince William Alexander School, and thus will be able to cater to the needs of even more students with special needs at that school in the coming weeks. So those who had been tested and were deemed qualified to attend that school will be hearing from the school within short. Other projects and programs being undertaken by SSSD, in addition to the services that they give to our clients, which are the students, their parents, and the schools. The staff is also engaged in starting and continuing various projects and programs, which include, and very important, the teacher support programs. They have started them, but they are going to be working for this year and into 2017 on finalizing teacher support programs. Teachers have also called out for assistance in dealing with their emotions, and so SSSD is listening to that, and we're working on that as well to bring programs to their teachers. We also are working on general care management meetings on a regular basis, bringing all the student care coordinators and social workers together to discuss challenges, bottlenecks, and give advice in moving forward. There are also parent education workshops being planned, and I think this is very, very important. you cannot go with a one-prong approach. In dealing with education, you must deal with the students, you must deal with the parents, you must deal with the educators as a ministry. And so I would like to encourage all parents to stay tuned, look out for when these parenting workshops are being given, and make use of the opportunity to improve your skills in dealing with our children in this day and age and with the discipline issues that we are facing in our schools. We do need the cooperation of parents and the community as well. Workshops also continue for students who travel to the Netherlands, as well as career guidance workshops, to name a few. And I must also add that we've recently added 2 young professionals to the SSSD staff, young St. Martin professionals as well, I must say, who have returned home and are going to be contributing to assisting our schools and the division in meeting the needs of our students with special needs. On the cultural front, I would like to say that the monuments labeling is still ongoing. Some of the challenges that the vendor who won that bid is facing is actually finding enough information to place at the monuments. We do not just want to say this is this building or this is this area, that they have a story that is attached to it, so it's taking a little longer than had been planned, but it is still ongoing. And on another front, 11 of the monuments have been remeasured, and it is still ongoing. So monuments I mentioned in previous press briefing are being remeasured because many owners had been restricted in developing the property because the entire property had been deemed a monument. So they are now being remeasured so that only the area upon which the monument stands would then be the monument, and then the owners are free to do what they would like with the rest.